All right. Let's go grab this. Okay. Let's take this link and send you there. Let's go check that on my phone. All right. No, that's not wanting to work, of course. Hey, Sergeant Chaos, how's it going? Just still getting the stream set up a little bit here. Alright, let me go check the sound and that's alright, that's going to be good. We'll turn up the desktop audio for you so you can hear it whenever it does start. And we'll send this out on a couple of servers. New content. Okay. And let's see, let's go back here. Don't care about that, don't care about that. Alright. Hey, Zino. Hey, Jack. I've been pretty good. A little bit busy, but pretty good. Hello, Froggo, or Frugo? Let's go check this. 15 more minutes. Let's get Stormworks going in the meantime. I don't have it open. Dupe. Don't care about that. You shut up. Let's go back to here. Let's open up. I don't know if I want to see chat. We'll just go here. We'll unmute it. Sleep was great, Jack. Yep, build challenge is all finished up. Just getting the video going now. I think I'm at number 5 out of 15 right now. But I'll finish up the rest of those videos today, hopefully. Maybe tomorrow. And then I gotta get ready on the next one. I got a couple of fun ideas for the next one. But hush, hush. Uh-oh, Jack. I'm gonna go get to him real quick. I'm gonna do yours first. I'm doing them all in segments because I just can't look at a big wall of 4 hours. Not even 4 hours. It's literally going to be... each one is about 10 minutes. And I think there's like 15 builds or something like that, so it's a while. Alright. They do take way too long to do though. I'm literally going to have to make it so that it's like only the top 10. Because each build tends to take about 35 minutes to do and edit entirely. And like I can't spend 15 hours on a video. That's just wild. Oh, let me grab this and send this somewhere else. Doop. On. Oh, okay, now you're reconnected. You do you. Alright. As long as it doesn't completely die on me. Let's send this over here. Because I got to get the views. That's all it's about. Publish. There we go. $11 more minutes. Ooh, Sea of Thieves got an update too. Actually, I don't know if we'll be able to do the Sea of Thieves thing tomorrow. I think I've got a train challenge tomorrow, I think. I'll have to see what I've been scheduled in for. Let's close Stormworks now, because I don't need all of this stuff running. And I will also be trying to keep up live while it's going to put in some little marks in a video of this. I'll upload it as its own standalone video after this. And I will put in timestamps so you can go through it and check whatever you want whenever. Because that's always kind of nice. That'll probably be a bit, though. It takes a long time to do that, surprisingly. Hey, exit. How's your nice, bright and early morning going? I'm gonna go get a box of cookies. Can we see how many people are here? It's about 60. Unable to join chat. Why? Hi, everyone. Dude. Hey, 454. $350, that's fine. I still actually count that as just being late at night. I wouldn't even call that morning at that point. Oh, got a 454 Glazer in the chat. Ugh. Do. 7 more minutes. This is already going a lot better than the last one I tried to stream. The last one I tried to stream, the power went out as soon as I woke up. I had a generator off the side and I was using my phone as a hotspot. And then their stream was messing up too. I ended up having to leave like halfway through and just record it, I think. It went so bad. Oh, to the questions. Good question. I don't actually know. I think they'll send a link, but in the chat, but I don't know if you can just find that on the GeoMeta page or not. I can't ask a question right now because my dad's in work meetings and my entire Steam account is under his email address because I had it whenever I was really young. And so anytime I want to sign in or I get signed out on my browser, I have to go ask him for the code that it sends him. And of course, it disconnected me on my browser. So even for all the challenge builds and stuff like that, I have to just grab the name and then search for it in Steam afterwards. It's very inconvenient. Five more minutes. 60 people, I was expecting more. It's also kind of early for a lot of people. It's such a weird time. It's also a weekday. Like, why would you schedule it? Like, I guess it makes sense for them, but like, I don't know. For Q&A, it just seems like an easier thing than just doing a weekend and then get everybody who's not at work. Yeah, I've looked into. I swear I've changed the email like 4 times and it just never works. I don't know any of these people in the chat. The question is, when will career be enjoyable. It's kind of enjoyable now. It's fun for like a week. Numbers are jumping up now. It's just about time. 3 more minutes. See if he's exactly on time too. And then I'll just mute as soon as it actually goes and gets started. I was actually impressed by multiplayer the other day. Me and Pink were playing around with that dock that we just released, and we had his massive cruise ship in there, my new blue boat, the ptarmigan, his kayaks, the dodo, his azure, the bearing, I think that's what it's called, and something else, I forget. It was chugging along pretty slow, but it was surprising that we were even at that FPS with all of that stuff in. It starts at 2 minutes. People are confused why they can't see the live, even though it says Stormworks Developer Q&A live stream starting soon. I guess they have to really underline and capitalize the soon for everybody. I don't even think I could come up with a question right now. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, I'm going to accept whatever. If they announce something, that would be awesome. I bet a lot that they are going like everything that they're going to announce, or not Stormworks 2. If they do, I'll be very happy because I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully a Q&A too. Or not a Q&A, sorry, a major update. I think they had that in their main like description of the update and all of that. We were a little skeptical though in my Discord. Oh, really? Let's go ahead and full screen. Should be starting momentarily. And afterwards we can kind of go over it and chat with you guys and see what you think, see how it goes and all of that. We're 1 minute late. Come on, deltars. Let's check good old chat. If we go this whole stream without audio, that's gonna suck. This is painful. Yeah. Oh, why, yes, it is on YouTube. Yeah, the game volume is hella loud. Please, please, please unmute. Ah. Hey, Pro Killer. Hey, Bison. Please unmute. Oh, that's nitty gritty. Didn't know that. Imagine this is the intro. I'm gonna rate this the worst Q&A so far ever. At least the other ones we could hear. Oh Jesus. Unmute. Good. Jesus, I can't spell. Good, sir. Yeah, I play with the music on once every probably 3 months just because it's a little nice and nostalgic, but like, it's at minimum. Maybe tell them on Discord, that won't go well. I told someone to ping them, that's a quick way to get banned. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I highly suggest don't go to their Discord and ping deltars asking for him to unmute. That is a very quick way to get sent away from their Discord. Come on, deltars, you got people DMing you. Read them. Beginner says, yeah, okay, fixing now. So hopefully he's gonna go yell at him. One can only hope. Chat?
Jesus. Did I do that? Oh no. I am very sorry, everyone. I have literally just been talking for 12 minutes. I did start on time. That's good news. However, I unmuted the music and not the not my microphone. God damn it. Right, I'll put the music on nice and low. There, you've got a little bit of music in the background there. Let's get started. Very sorry about that. Jesus Christ, what an idiot I am. Okay, right. At least I know what I'm going to say. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Yes, I am here. Let's get started. Welcome to the Stormworks Developer Q&A live session. I'm going to be answering the questions for the next hour or two. There is the questions website. Thank you for the developer who messaged me to tell me that they couldn't hear me. So if you head over to to geometer.co.uk/questions, this address here, it should be in the corner of the screen, and we will answer your questions there. So you can submit a question there. The way it works is you get one question. Last time we got through about 2/3 of everybody's questions. Yes, I know I am a grandpa, Jesus. I'm not actually a grandpa, but I feel like one. We got through 2/3 of the questions, so we will try and get through as many questions as we can. Based on last time, we got 2/3 chance of your question getting answered. We only allow one question each. For that reason, it's so we've got a chance of getting through everyone. It's only fair. And there is a limited length of question you can type into this box as well, for obvious reasons. Do try and get a little bit of context in there, and yeah, I'll be very happy to answer your questions. What I've done, I've already shuffled them, and I will shuffle the questions every 30 minutes, say 30 minutes or so. I'll just reshuffle them, and it just means that if you're asking questions later on, then there's a fair chance of you getting your question answered. So without further ado, let's get started. We've got a question from Valsarius asking, multiplayer NAN location fix. This is plaguing multiplayer. So the next question is also any plans on improving multiplayer performance or removing excessive delay. Let's just cover this multiplayer stuff. For Ceres, I don't fully understand what a NAN location problem is. It might be a Lua debug text you're getting out from a Lua script. It might be like what I refer to as the Twilight Zone, where the player gets flung occasionally. Let me know more detail. I would say raise a support ticket describing what the symptoms are and how we can reproduce them. If we have more info, if we understand what the problem is, if we can reproduce it, then we can try and understand what the problem is and we can start to fix it, but I just need to understand a little bit better. And Teniente Vaskovic asks, are any plans on improving the multiplayer performance or removing excessive delay? So I've started writing some notes. I do have one thing that I plan on immediately doing in multiplayer, and that is just to get a little bit more communication to the player. I think my volume should be okay. Someone's asked me to speak loudly. My microphone's pretty close to my mouth. I have got it turned up on the plus 20 decibels. My microphone can go higher, so if you guys want me to put my microphone higher, I can do that, but let me know in the chat. So yeah, we'll get. My plan is to add some icons on the player list to show if a player is having a particular multiplayer problem, and the reason for this is that I think there's many complaints about poor multiplayer experience, but it's not clear what the causes are, and I think there's a bunch of different problems that can cause similar poor experience. For example, you might have high latency connection to the server. You might be running out of bandwidth because you're on Wi-Fi, or you're on mobile internet, or you've got family members using the internet who are hogging all the connection, and so on. So that's one type of problem. You could be experiencing packet loss. Packet loss can cause nasty symptoms. It can cause some quite severe stuttering in Stormworks. It's unusual to have too much packet loss. So if you're getting a normal amount of packet loss, it should be a perfectly normal experience. But if you've got high packet loss, which is high packet loss is like 1 or 2%, that's quite unusual to get packet loss that high, then you'll probably be struggling to have a good experience there. There's also the issues with the speed of the client. If your client can't keep up with the server, then you find that there's a delay that gets bigger. So if the server's running at 60 FPS, the client's running at 50 FPS, and the client is not processing, is getting left 10 frames behind every single second, and that builds up, and it's 10 frames behind after 1 second, it's 20 frames behind after 2 seconds, it's 30 frames behind after 3 seconds, and so on. That's obviously a problem. That only really happens if the client is a lot slow in the server, because the clients have to do a lot less simulation work, the server has to do much more. So it's unusual for the client to be that much slower than the server PC that it can't keep up, but that does cause this input delay symptom. And then of course we've got the slow server problem, where just too much stuff is spawned in, the server PC is a slow PC or whatever else, and that can obviously result in multiplayer game with low speed, low frame rate kind of thing, low simulation speed. So these are things I think we can probably detect in code, so we should add some code to detect exactly what situation a player might be in and display icons to explain that, and then that means that players can give us more information, and we can start to understand exactly what the main problems are with multiplayer, so that we can focus attention on that, because we're getting lots of reports about bad experiences. Some might be our fault, some might not be. Some might be related to the player's PC or the player's internet connection. Some might be related to the Stormworks software. We need to better identify what classification these multiplayer issues are. So that is my answer for that one. Let's carry on to question 3. Are you going to put more lives in the game, more killable sea monsters, more fish? I don't know is the answer. I think the NPC stuff, I think Stormworks design, the game design behind Stormworks is all about the mechanics and adding stuff that does stuff. So I don't know whether I really want to add like NPCs that don't actually have a purpose in the game other than being scenery dressing. The killable sea monsters, I mean, I do like the ones we've already added. I don't know how we would top the Kraken, because I think the Kraken does work really well. It's got its tentacles, it's physics based, it grabs ships and pulls them down. Like in terms of like the Stormworks world, he works quite well. Are we going to do something that's better than the Kraken? I don't know, and I think we'd want to be doing better stuff. I think we've got already quite a lot of fish. I don't know quite how many varieties we are, but I think it's a couple of dozen at least. So I don't know whether we need more fish per se. So I don't know. I would say we don't have plans to add extra NPCs other than if we're adding them for missions. And we're not planning on adding any more sea monsters or fish at the moment. Killflea asks, can we get a remove mission feature for despawning bugged mission like before 1? So I think there are type-in commands to do this. Are there? I don't have a answer for that off the top of my head. I do see what you mean. You're saying you want to despawn a specific mission Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what a bugged mission is. Um, I did see a report on the issue tracker the other day of yet another physics slowdown due to someone's mission vehicle spawning in the ground again, and we keep fixing this and it keeps coming back, and it's a lot rarer than it used to be, but it does look like it can still occur in rare circumstances where a AI vehicle or mission vehicle can spawn clipping into some other physics, and that causes poor physics slowdown. So maybe that's what this player is referring to. Otherwise, I think the mission system, I mean, you can disable missions if you don't want missions. If you do want missions, then you can play with them on. Are we going to add a button to release you of the current mission? I don't know, that really makes sense. There might already be typing commands for clearing stuff. I can't remember. I think we had them in development at least. I don't know whether we have them now. But I mean, really, we should be fixing the bugged mission, not adding a button to allow you to skip the bugs kind of thing. It doesn't quite make sense. I think really we'd want to focus our energy on fixing a bugged mission, for example. Next question. Exit says, any chance of higher resolution monitors? They will be transformative for the game. The answer to that is that we don't have plans for that now, especially because we added the viewing scopes and the other one, the heads-up display. I mean, the viewing scope is obviously transformative for the game because it does allow you to have like your full resolution targeting systems, turrets, your cameras, and so on. You can now go in, zoom, full resolution, and that's a big deal. The going generally higher resolution on the monitors, I think I would rather not. The reasons for those is just because of the rendering performance. Obviously you get like a lower res preview of the video, but you can interact with the viewing scopes to get the full res, which is nice, and that does relieve, I think, a lot of player requirement there. It means that they do now have the ability to go full resolution. If you're talking about the Lua displays and so on, I think the performance is an issue if you're doing like Lua rendering and you want more pixels. The Lua code, it's designed to do a specific function, and I think the bigger the screens, the more situations we're going to see where players are just trying to render too much and it's slowing the game down too much. The Lua isn't as fast as some other parts of the game. So, and also I think there's this standardization thing. We've got like a set number of resolution sizes, and it just means that the Lua controllers for like rendering on screens are transferable to some degree, because there's a finite number of resolutions that the screens can be. And if we carry on adding more and more resolutions, then you'll just kind of get into the situation where these Lua controllers need to be paired with a very specific resolution, and they don't work a lot of the time. I think that transferability is kind of what Stormworks is about as well. It's about the drop-inableness. So I think the higher resolution monitors, probably not. I think we can kind of get away without doing that now because we've done the viewing scopes. Next question by Non. What's your stance on non-grief/hack third-party mods like SWQOL Suite? Are they allowed? Well, users keep asking me about this one, and I think some users were kind of like a bit put off when we included the terms of service. My point of view on our terms of service is that when we added the terms of service stuff, it was when we were doing the modding update, and players were going to be downloading other players' content as mods. And I think from our point of view, we kind of needed a bit more legal text there. for our protection, but for the player's point of view, and this is the key point, from the player's point of view, I don't think we actually changed anything, because I think our agreement more or less reflects the Steam subscriber agreement. Like, I don't think there's really, I mean, there's probably, you know, I'm not a solicitor, I'm sure there are differences, but I don't think there's any major differences in what you've already agreed to on the Steam subscriber agreement and what we've agreed to on our terms. And this has come up quite a few times with specifically the SWQOL suite or whatever it is. I think that's the one. And modifying the exe is just not allowed on Steam. It's against the Steam subscriber agreement. You're not meant to do it unless you've got specific written permission from the developer. I think, off the top of my head, you can have a look at the Steam subscriber agreement if this is important to you. So, strictly speaking, no, they're not allowed, because you've said you won't do that in the Steam subscriber agreement on any Steam game anyway. Am I upset by it? I think if players are using it in a creative and constructive way, then I think it's fine. I'm not particularly aware of exactly all the features and all the details around this particular mod. So I can't say for sure exactly what my opinion on it is, but I think it's generally considered by players to be harmless, not causing any problems, just allowing access to creative tools or the developer menus or whatever. So I don't personally have an issue with that. But obviously we did add this stuff in because some players were being naughty and they were griefing other players in multiplayer, connecting to servers and trying to ruin other players' experiences. And players were upset about this. They asked us to help, and we did step in and we helped. And I think we've obviously included wording in the terms of service to kind of reflect that we are allowed to stop people from griefing and ruining other players' experiences. And that's largely what that stuff's about. We have taken action against people who are trying to pirate DLCs as well. And obviously that's piracy, isn't it? So I need not explain more. So I think I've kind of covered that. Strictly, you're not allowed to do it under the Steam subscriber agreement anyway. So, you know, it's not really for me to give permission. Next is, will modding component support be expanded with more functionality? Let's think. So, I mean, I think the question is yes here. Echoless asks. But exactly what that functionality is, I don't know. I think the mods we do have are incredible. You can see in this video that we are playing with a bunch of them. The mods that are in are really cool. Some of it I think is kind of the uptake is actually quite slow, but we are looking. We're watching the support tracker. We're looking for player requests, and I think we will expand the mod and component support with more functionality as we see player requests that make sense to us. And you know, I'm sure we will. So yeah, I'm sure we will be expanding with more functionality. We've definitely got the energy, the interest, and the attention to do so. I'll mark that as answered, and what I will do is 432. Let's refresh this. I will press shuffle once, twice, and 3 times, and let's carry on. Baron Peter asks, are there any plans on improving the space DLC? Space stations keep falling back to Earth. There is, in the space DLC, there is a neutral point. I think we've added a mission with a space station. Is that space station static, or have we just put it in a geostationary orbit? I'm not sure, but there is a geostationary orbit altitude. So space stations will not fall back to Earth if you get them to the geostationary altitude, and likewise there's a converse. If you take them above the geostationary altitude, they'll start floating away from Earth. So yeah, you just need to get them to the correct altitude, and it's a bit like, you know, a bunch of these other space games, Kerbal Space Program and so on, where there is effectively like an orbit altitude where you can get yourself into orbit. Obviously, if you're not quite hitting that kind of escape velocity, then you've not got your vehicle high enough, and it will keep falling back. But if you can get it to the correct altitude, and I don't know if someone's documented it, but I'm pretty sure there is like a geostationary orbit where you can achieve. I mean, I keep saying geostationary, but that's kind of it's the altitude at which you need to reach and not change your altitude not move away from the Earth or move towards the Earth, but also be traveling at the same speed as the ground is, so you're kind of in a fixed position. You can move laterally, and if you go sideways, that also that would reduce that orbiting altitude then, because you're traveling faster. So it's normal orbiting mechanics. I think it's more or less physically correct with simplifications, and you should be able to get to the point where your space station is not falling back to Earth. You need to go higher, or you need to increase its velocity. Next question by Non. Have you ever considered adding the buoyancy block or expanding on buoyancy ? Seaplanes. So what have we done here? We have, I mean, we do have obviously the float component, but it's just one component. Probably have a bunch of different floats, couldn't we? We have obviously got the component modding in now, so I think it's probably quite a simple component mod to make. But you know, we could add a bunch of buoyancy blocks, yeah, for specific buoyancy vehicles. You've also got the physics modding, and so some players have been having a play around with the physics constant values modding stuff that we added in. I think what I'd say with that is that seaplanes have always been a tricky one. You know, I've explained this in the past with regard to our rationale for making the water a little bit thick and a little bit treacle-like, and the air a little bit thick as well, and it's generally to try and get the components to be interchangeable. The way the aircraft are made is very different. The way to boats are made, to ships are made, to cars are made, and obviously in Stormworks you're building everything from the same material. So to kind of generalize these, we've had to generalize some of the physics in a sense. We've had to balance the physics numbers so that you can have a ship, but you can also have a plane that's made from the same blocks. And for seaplanes, that's particularly problematic because that high resistance to motion that you got in water really makes it difficult to take off in a seaplane, doesn't it? If your complaints limit to buoyancy, I mean, that's an interesting one. I'll write this down. I think with buoyancy blocks, you've got stuff like the float blocks that we've already. I think we've got one float block that we added in quite early on in the development process. We could add a series of float blocks in. I think that'd be kind of cool. It'd be obviously very easy for us to do so, but it's also the kind of thing that could be modded in quite quick. I'll discuss it with the developers, and we'll see if we want to add more buoyancy blocks. Are we going to have like negative buoyancy, i.e., like something that's like more buoyant than a vacuum, for example? Probably not. So you know, your seaplane's still going to have weight to it. It's still going to sink down a bit, but potentially we can improve the building experience a bit there. So yeah, I'll note that down. Buoyancy blocks. Noted. Next question. Will we get new windows with different steepness, like 1 in 4 in vanilla, and new portholes XMP 2x2. Example. I see. So we're not going to add the 1 in 4 windows because we don't have slope surfaces in our buoyancy data, so we have to simplify our buoyancy data to specific angles. So that means that the 1 in 4 angle isn't compatible with our buoyancy system, and it just means that the water on the outside of a window is going to kind of clip through the glass a bit in that sense. So I think we would leave it to players to mod the components if they want specific windows with a specific angle and so on. And I think that makes sense because otherwise, I mean, we've already added 650 blocks to Stormworks. If we started doing this kind of request, it would be 6,500 blocks, and I think that would be bad for the design of the game because it would just be too many components. It would be difficult to build because it would be overwhelming, the amount of components. I mean, 650 is already pushing our luck. So we're probably not going to do these specific user requests for a specific contextual block. What's the status of NAT Stormworks 2? Are you able to share information regarding it? I hope that we'll be sharing more information soon. We've got the we're working hard on it. If you're not familiar with NAT Stormworks 2, I'll quickly cover. We've been discussing the new game that we're working on. It does have a real name now, but we've been talking about it with players as not Stormworks 2, and it's not. It really is not Stormworks. So it's a different game. It's not a sequel to Stormworks. It's not a solution to Stormworks problems. It's not like a remake of Stormworks. It's a different game. It does have some similarities in that there is vehicle building and so on, but it's very different for the vehicle building. And I think in some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse. And all will be clear when we announce the game, when we make the game playable. At the moment, our plans are to announce it in the next. I don't want to. Let's say in the next 6 months, we hope to announce our next game. It's not immediately going to be playable, so hopefully you'll be able to play it in the 6 months after that. So that's a rough timeline. I don't know. Obviously, that's all subject to change, and we're not going to release it until we're happy, until we're ready. We do want to get player feedback, so there might be some kind of closed access program after we announce it. Hopefully, we'll just see how it goes. Yeah, that's that. Let's carry on. Mark answered, and can you share anything about NAT Stormworks 2? So I think I've just answered that. Yeah, hopefully we'll have a full image of what the game's like in the next 6 months. But Stormworks will continue. This is something I should also mention. Stormworks isn't going to stop development. It is a separate game, and so the games will work in parallel to each other, and NAT Stormworks 2, our new game, will just be different. And I think a lot of you will very much enjoy the new game, but I think you might also still play Stormworks because Stormworks is still going to be a better game in some regards, and it'll be a better game for some players, and for some other players our new game will be a better game. It's going to be interesting. Guys definitely want to at least know what we're doing, and we'll get you that information at some point in the next 6 months. Next question, are there any plans to set up an official library or database with all the add-on parameters? And then it was cut off. So we do have the documentation that is somewhere. Is it online? I think it's on the wiki, isn't it? I think it's all documented on the wiki. If you go to geometer.co.uk, there is a wiki, and on the Stormworks page you can check out the information on the add-ons. There should be documentation for all the lower functions for doing the add-ons. Next question: can you add multi-threading as a beta or in the game? Please add a medium rotary autocannon. Okay, two cheeky questions in this one, isn't there? Multi-threading as a beta or in the game. I mean, we keep talking about the multi-threading, and usually it's not qualified. Why this player wants multi-threading? Presumably, it's because they think it's going to improve their performance in the game. Well, we don't know that that's true. It's complicated, isn't it? And can you add multi? I mean, we're continuing to develop Stormworks. I don't know what's going to happen next. We are not planning on making fundamental changes like that right now. It could happen in the future. It could happen in a sequel game. I don't know. But right now, we're not planning on kind of, I guess, rewriting the game from the ground up, because I think that's it's not going to be kind of a productive thing for us to do at the moment. That's my opinion. The second part, please add a medium rotary autocannon. I mean, I think when we added the modding support, we're not trying to get out of developing the game. We're not trying to get the players to make stuff, but I think it's where players have these specific requests for a specific contextual part. It might make more sense that we've added the API so players can do their specific bits rather than us add to the base game all these specific contextual parts. So I'm not really sure about the medium rotary autocannon either. Now King asks, any plans on making the water and wind interact with the land? I think the answer is no here. I mean, this is an interesting question. I do like it. You know, the idea of the water and wind kind of having this land interaction. I mean, it's something we did pretty well in Carry Command 2, because if you've played that game, we've got the fluid simulation, and it does react to the islands. You can go onto the map, and you can see there's a visualization of the ocean currents, and you can see that it does flow around the islands. It's a cool feature. I wish we could do something like that within Stormworks, but does it improve the gameplay? I'm not sure. I think possibly this isn't even talking about that. This is probably talking about some visual effects, like having the waves breaking on the land or stuff like that, and then the wind as well, some kind of aerodynamic interaction. I think, you know, I like the idea of an aerodynamic simulation, but I think it's going to be really difficult to do right, and they're notoriously computationally intensive, and I think to have a simulation that was detailed enough to be useful to players, I think would probably be too much of a slowdown. I could be wrong there, but just off the top of my head, that's what I'm kind of imagining, is that we don't want to do a low resolution one. It wants to be detailed enough to be useful, and at that point it's just going to cause performance issues. So we don't have any plans specifically, but I do like the idea. I think it's quite a nice vision for the game. Next question from Fires Furio 6. Any thoughts on increasing water density or increasing buoyancy? This would fix a ton of issues. So players have done their own water mods. You've got the constant number modding, and the reason we did this, again, we're not trying to get out of developing our own game. It's just to reflect that the numbers in Stormworks are the numbers in Stormworks, and even if you don't agree with them, it's the game as it stands. And if we start changing those numbers, then the situation's going to arise where no one's vehicle works anymore because we've made it a different game. And I think as much as I kind of sympathize with the player sentiment of, oh, but this game could be better in this sense, the reality is that it's very difficult for us to change a live game in a dramatic way like this, because we know that it'll be bad for a lot of players' experiences where they're playing with their existing creations which they've invested hundreds or thousands of hours into, or they're playing stuff that's already on the workshop that other players have created, and we don't want to break huge portions of the game. And I think it'd be very difficult for us to mess with water density and buoyancy without breaking lots of creations. And yeah, we're in this conflicted space, because I like the idea of improving these physical mechanics in the game, but at the same time I'm aware that I am constrained by I've got responsibility to my existing players who are heavily invested in the existing mechanics of the game. So it's a conflicting situation for me, and I think it's better that we don't change the game to the detriment of many players. Next question, centrifugal compressor when I want a proper turbo for cars and ships too. So I mean, with the pumps we've got, we do have one centrifugal compressor, right? It's like you look at the model, it's a centrifugal one. It's I mean, a proper turbo. Now, I always get confused because there is a distinction between turbos and superchargers, isn't there? I think a turbo is powered by the exhaust gases, and a supercharger is powered by the motion of the engine. It's powered by like the engine power. I think I'm correct. So I think a lot of players want the turbos, which is powered by exhaust, and I think we've just got an issue with the conservation of energy here, where the torque system and the gases system are separate systems, and interacting with each other is difficult, because what you want effectively to happen here is for us to take compressed gas energy and turn it into torque energy, and then turn that torque energy back into compressed gas energy, and transferring one way I think is kind of okay, but then transferring one way and then back again is gonna lead to conservation of energy problems. So I don't think we're going to add a turbo. I think you can build superchargers with existing parts, but not turbos. I think I'm right in saying that. And we do technically have a centrifugal compressor, so I'm not really sure what is meant by that. Next question, will crabbing get nerfed by maybe reducing the speed at which the crab pots fill? Is that something that players want? I mean, I'm happy to look at rebalancing that stuff if it's completely overpowered. I don't know how serious players are taking crab fishing. I know it's a mechanic we enjoyed adding, but if it is imbalanced, we can have a look at it. I think obviously we'll be keen, I suppose, to engage the community on that one and make sure that we're making changes that will be appreciated. But yeah, it's no problem to change that if that's what players want. Maybe create a support ticket, and I suppose any players who feel that's important to them to let their thoughts be known on the support tracker. We can't hear you on the live stream. Yeah, I am very sorry about that. Thank you for being patient and hanging around for 13 minutes of music. Okay. Next question, are there any updates for the next game so far? So I've already answered this. I am so excited about this next game. Like, I am being completely transparent here. It isn't a solution to Stormworks, and it will be run in parallel. It's not a replacement to Stormworks. We're not stopping Stormworks. But I think there's a lot of cool stuff in this new game that players are going to love. But likewise, there's a lot of places where players will look at the new game and say, well, this is really cool, but actually I'm going to go back and play Stormworks because I prefer this or I prefer that. And I just want to, I guess, set players' expectations here that the new game is different, and in many ways it's different in a really great way, but in some ways we got a lot of stuff right in Stormworks, and we're changing some stuff in the new game to make a generalization. I think the new game is better for small vehicles. Stormworks is better for larger vehicles. So that's a little bit of insight for you there. That's probably all I'm going to say. But yeah, thank you for asking. I do really want to share loads of information. Hopefully we can do that soon. Any possibility of adding new types of missile components, asks user. We have added quite a lot already. We've got a bunch of detectors that we added not too long ago, I think. We've got all the rocket parts, we've got the fins. So I'm not really sure what types of missile components are desired here. I'm certainly happy to hear specific requests. We do read the support tracker. We might not give up replies every single week, but we read everything. We don't necessarily reply to stuff if we don't feel like we can help with the thing, and we don't want to say no to stuff and then change our mind later. So we don't necessarily write a reply to everything, but I absolutely promise we do read everything. So yeah, raise a support issue if you want to request a specific stuff for missile components. We're happy to have a look at it. It's the kind of stuff, if we like the idea, if the developers like it, it's a cool idea, could very well become part of the game. Thank you very much. Will you fix the NAT issue that prevents players from joining home hosted servers? Ticket 26672. It's even got a ticket. This user was not happy about the limited character input, so they've linked me to their NAT issue. So I think what I'm going to say is that on our multiplayer we do use the Steam peer-to-peer library. Now it's quite a good library because you've been playing multiplayer games for a while, you know all about the problems you get from needing to forward ports and so on, especially with hosting a server. If you're hosting servers, you often need to forward the ports. If you haven't forwarded the ports, it's a nightmare. Sometimes, if you're certainly in the UK, you'll know that all the ISPs, they give you this modem that doesn't work. You forward the ports and the ports don't get forwarded, but you've done it correctly in the settings. The modem just doesn't work. It's a piece of junk, and the router even, and that's quite common. So the Steam peer-to-peer library does give certain features, and some of these features are NAT traversal, in order to help you punch through the NAT. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like the networking layer with the networking tables in the router to get the communication linked, so it knows that when data comes through to your modem, that it knows to forward it to your specific PC rather than a different PC on the network. It knows who that data's for. So it has features to help with that. It's got a bunch of stuff that help players get connected. It's also got this fallback service where if it can't connect, then it will start to bounce traffic off a Steam server, so you both end up connecting to a server that Steam runs, and you both send data to the server, and then the server both replies this data back to you, and so even though you can't see the server or the server can't see the client, you can both see this shared Steam server and you're both able to communicate with it. It's a good feature. However, it does have its limitations, and I think the problem with going with the Steam peer-to-peer library is that if you don't have your ports forwarded and stuff, the game kind of looks like it's working, but actually this could, coming back to our multiplayer issues, that some players might be having a bad experience because they don't have the ports forwarded correctly or whatever, and they're bouncing off the Steam peer-to-peer server, which adds latency, and I think there's limitations to that. I don't know if it throttles people. The technical details I'm not fully aware of, but we've been certainly looking at it a lot with our new game, and we do see that sometimes data kind of pulses a bit. It just depends. It's kind of hard to say, but yeah, the data might not get transmitted in a smooth way. So we are using the Steam peer-to-peer. It does, however, very nicely leave us in a situation where we don't really have to deal with these NAT issue that the player is talking about, because we've already used the Steam library, and the Steam library has been developed and maintained over a long period of time and is used in a bunch of Valve games like Counter-Strike Go and so on, like big games. So it's well mature, and I don't think it's realistic for players to ask us to apply improvements to it. You know, it's about as good as I think it can be. The guys at Valve have been developing it over a long period of time. It's very well tested. It's very well deployed. It's going to be working about as well as can work. If it's not working, I can see there is an issue here. I'm not going to start reading this player's issue. I'll just see. They have had a reply 10 months ago from a developer, and then they received another reply a month later, and then another reply another month later. I don't know how many more replies they want, but it's, you know, it's probably not our fault, basically. So I'm sorry you're having bad experience with the multiplayer. It's probably a router, and it's certainly out of our control. The next question is, could Stormworks become a multi-threaded? It could fix many issues like the game runs super slow. Well, I mean, we get this question every time, don't we? I mean, the technical answer is that the game's already multi-threaded. We run the client on one thread, we run the rendering on another thread, we run the physics on another thread. We've got some other background threads doing stuff. I think this is, you know, a bit of a vague request, and it's, I mean, I think it's the issue with this kind of problem, this kind of request, is that it is casually made. The player is saying, hey, the game's slow, make it super multi-threaded so it runs quick. Well, it is already multi-threaded, but I think players will point out that, you know, you Control Delete, go to the processors window, and they'll see that one core is at 100%, the next core is at 60%, the next core is at 30%, the fourth core is at like 10%, and they're like, well, it's not multi-threaded then, it's not using all of my cores at 100%. I think if we talk a little bit about the context here, when Stormworks was released, Stormworks was actually went into open beta over 8 years ago now, so it's actually getting on a bit. We obviously started developing it like way before that, so we started developing the game like 10 years ago. When we launched the game, certainly in open beta, processors, like you got your computer, you would have the normal, at the average player playing Storm, had either 2 or 4 core processor. So obviously that's not true anymore. Now, like, there's loads of you with 20 cores, right? Like, you've got the latest Intel chip, it's got 20 cores. When we developed the game and launched it, players were playing, most players had 2 or 4 cores, and if they had a really good PC, they might have 6 or even 8. Like, 8 was a huge number when we launched. So the normal PC we were developing for was 2 or 4 cores. So, I mean, this did count as multi-threaded. Now, with the core count effectively scaling quite high, it does mean that that architecture that we've gone for made sense when we initially released the game. Doesn't make as much sense anymore, because actually, if we could scale the game onto 20 cores, then it would be running faster. But that wasn't what we were doing at that time. It's an 8-year-old game now, and we are servicing and we are updating it, and we are making improvements where we can. But I think a lot of you will be able to understand that this is a fundamental of the game's architecture, and to say, okay, well, we'll go in and we'll change the fundamentals, I think doesn't appreciate just how many layers of development, of game development, have been built upon that foundation of our multi-threading architecture. So I respect that players are asking for this multi-threaded stuff. They think it's the solution to all their problems. I don't think it is. To be honest, we don't even know this player's got a CPU blocked or GPU blocked either. I mean, it's difficult for us to know with with this kind of request. I think it's unlikely for us to be able to go in now and change the fundamental architecture of the game because so much stuff is built upon it. It's like changing the foundation of a building. You know, it's going to be very difficult to do with the entire building placed on top. So I'm saying that there's no current plan to change the threading architecture of the game. Quite a technical answer, but I just want to be honest with everyone, give everyone the most complete information. Next question. Any plans to improve sailing? More sail connect points, not only for tightening and loosening. Right, let me try and process this. So we had a lot of fun developing the sailing feature. I think there is tightening and loosening, right? If you use the logic nodes on the sail anchors, then you can tighten and loosen the sails. And I think we were asking for more than 4 sails. I mean, I know you get creases in the sail if you have more than 4 connection points, but we made the 4 connection point rule because you can put 2 next to each other and then have a sail with 3 points, or you can have a square sail. So we basically supported triangular sails or square sails, and that does seem to cover like the vast majority of players' requirements for sails. Most sails are either triangular or square, or well, rectangular, I should say, or they've got 3 points or they've got 4 points. So I think that simplicity is kind of the fundamental of the game, and certainly it was the way things are built as well. We were considering. So I think we're not planning on changing the number of points on a sail, but if you've got specific requests for any rebalance changes, then we'd be happy to look at improving sailing anyway. I don't think it's in a bad place right now though, so we don't specifically. The player asks, are there any plans to improve sailing? Not right now. We're happy to hear specific requests on the support tracker. Where are we up to? Another half an hour has passed. Let me click shuffle 3 more times. Once, twice, and thrice. Okay, we've reshuffled. I will carry on. I'll just have a quick scroll down. Okay, there's 4 pages, and we must have done a page and a half by now. But let's carry on. Next question. Please can we get either proximity fused ammunition or programmable timed fused ammunition? Yeah, I mean, this is cool, isn't it? I mean, this probably isn't impossible, right? Because from the Stormworks game point of view, you could easily have a logic node on a cannon that sets the timed fuse. I know that the timed fuse. I think I know how timed fuse stuff works more or less. I don't know how proximity fuse stuff works. So I'm not sure. Is it like magnet based or something? I don't know what proximity fused ammunition does. But certainly I know about the timed fuse stuff where you can get rounds to detonate over heads or above trenches and stuff. I mean that sounds pretty cool. Bit of a pain to add more ammo types and stuff, but it could happen. I'll note that one down. I'll discuss it with the team, because it is something we could do, especially with the timed fuse. I think I'd need a bit of an explanation of, well, I need to look up what proximity fuse is, I guess. So timed and proximity ammunition that will be controlled through some logic node, presumably. Cool. Any plans on improving game optimization? So I think this is a common request, the optimization topic, and again it's a very broad request because it could mean the physics performance, it could mean the general game performance, it could mean the missions and the Lua scripts and the add-ons and so on, and it could also mean the rendering performance. And I suppose you know, this player probably doesn't really care which. They just want the game to run faster. We have done optimization updates in the past, and we've done quite a few rounds of it. I remember the last time we certainly did the graphics. In fact, I remember doing graphics and doing logic, and I went through it with a developer carefully, and we looked at everything, and we the last time we went through, the conclusion was that there wasn't too much left to squeeze, specifically on the logic side of things. So it's actually not really slow for what it's doing, basically. Without starting to say, oh, well, we'll change the behavior of the game, so we'll start to approximate certain elements of the simulation or whatever. But we don't really want to do that, right? We don't want to change how vehicles behave and so on. We don't want to start trying to like cut bits out and just do less in order to make the game run faster. So I think I can kind of say with quite a high level of confidence that there's not too much stuff we can squeeze in terms of performance on the client side. On the rendering side, there might be, but I mean, yeah, the game is doing quite a bit. I know that there might also not be. I mean, it's been a while since I looked specifically at the rendering performance, but it has been looked at least a couple of times, and I don't think there's too many serious places. So you know, it's a difficult one. I know it comes back to this player's request from earlier, like, well, can you make it multi-threaded? Well, can you do this? Well, can you do that? I think I've kind of answered that multi-threading one. There's a lot that's been built on the way we've built the game. It's not necessarily bad, the multi-threading. It's just not good for if you want to scale with a 20-core CPU. With the logic and stuff, nothing is like jumping out as being slow, taking loads of time. It's doing a lot of stuff. There's loads of simulation going on. There's loads of components being processed and so on. And we would optimize the game if we could. I think it's really a question of what is practical to do, and then I think also, I know in the back of my mind, it's like, well, whatever we optimize, even if we make the game run 20% faster, the players will just spawn 20% more stuff, and it'll be the same situation again. So you know, it's a tough one. It's a bit of a thankless errand, and it's also an errand we've embarked on quite a few times already, and each time we have improved, but the improvements have now become diminishing, and I think it is tricky to find stuff that could be made faster. So yeah, not the answer you want, I'm sorry, but we don't have plans on improving game optimization right now. We'll keep an open mind on it. You know, I'm happy to work on the game. It's just a question of what can be practically done. Next question, could there be radars be modded in order to get rid of the noise? So I mean, yeah, we put this noise in, I suppose, to try to avoid the situation where you can use radar to kind of like pinpoint objects with GPS accuracy at a constant interval, because that wasn't really kind of what the radars are for. And can radars be modded in order to get rid of the noise? I don't think radars can be modded, no, to get rid of the noise. I don't think it's an attribute. It's not like a parameter that you can change on the radar. So no, but we could support that. Let me write that down. Radar noise as parameter. Radar noise as parameter. We could always add that as a constant value in the constant values file. That should be simple enough. Thank you very much. Can we get an in-game component XML editor? Lots of vehicles are already using XML editing. Yeah, I mean, you guys are crazy. The XML editing is just mad. Like, I think I kind of get like how it works. You XML edit stuff, and then you can copy and paste that XML editor's component into the position you want it to be in. It still seems like hell hard work. But I also appreciate, I do love myself a good looking vehicle, even if it's been XML'd to oblivion. So yeah, you are mad. The reason it's not supported is because the XML components don't actually work, right? You've just mangled the rendering of the component. The physics is still where it was originally. The attributes of how the part works and its positions and stuff is all where it was originally. Like, none of that's going to work. And I think for it to be an official developer feature, players would expect that stuff works. Like that if they're stretching a component, they expect the physics to stretch and so on. And that's not stuff we can support. And it doesn't really relate to I guess the basis of Stormworks being this block building game anyway. So I guess the answer is no. I don't think we really plan on adding an XML editor. I don't think it really makes sense. As much as I do appreciate the pain and hardships that the XML editing developers, vehicle creators are going through, I don't think I want to make it an official part for that reason, that there's going to be a mismatch between the visuals of the component and the mechanics and the physics and everything else. Next question, will you add a double-sided paintable sign? It would make painting on one block, thick walls easy. It's been asked before in previous ones. We don't plan on it. I mean, it could happen, but as soon as we add a double-sided paintable sign, players are going to say, well, how about the paintable sign where I can paint on 3 sides, no 4 sides, 5 sides, 6 sides? How about one on a slope? How about one on a 1x4 slope? How about one on a pyramid? And then at this point we can't. There's no point just adding the double-sided paintable sign. Is there? We'd have to add the everything paintable sign, and that's the problem. Liam, thank you for your request. Many players have asked for it before, but it's you're not asking for one part here. You're asking for like 32 parts or something. It's going to be a lot of parts because we have to do all the pyramids, all the different slope angles and so on, because ultimately it kind of doesn't make sense that we'd add the double-sided one and not the corner one and not the three sides one. And then once we've done the 3 sides one, why aren't all the other ones done? And that's the issue we got. The paintable signs are quite heavy on the vehicle size, and I think just in my mind is if you're making a small vehicle, it's fine, but as soon as you start making a massive tanker with a modded workbench, then it does cause issues, because obviously all that paintable data has to be stored somewhere, and as these vehicles get really big, they do cause other players issues as well, which is why I don't really want to then embark on this everything can be paintable mission as well, because it's going to be difficult to have these really big vehicle files starting to very easily show up. So we don't plan on doing that. I will note it down, however, and I will discuss it with the development team, because I think it is worth talking to the developers about, rather than me just saying no here. I think probably see what the developers think. Paintable block, 2-sided. It's worth having the discussion. Thank you for the question. Next question, is not Stormworks 2 going to be more realistic than Stormworks, or going to be more arcadey? Oh, that's a good question. I would say more realistic. You're really teasing a bit out of me, aren't you? I did say I wasn't going to say any more. Yeah, I've answered the question. A little bit more realistic. Stormworks 2025 Road Map, December 26, 2024. Only include plans up to June. but what kind of and I imagine this is what kind of plans do we have next. So we've just obviously done the stretchable ammo belts. I did kind of tactically place this dev Q&A after that because I was quite pleased with that update. I think it's an update I've been asked for quite a long time. It's an interesting one, and I think some good stuff's come of it. I know that I watched 454's video. He mentions he thought that the hopper belts would be a good idea, and I think that is a good idea. I think, you know, there's a lot of mining vehicles that would massively benefit from having hopper belts as well as the ammo belts. In terms of the roadmap, I think we do have updates planned for the rest of the year, but they're still being developed. And then I don't think we've started developing like January's update onwards yet, but we're planning on continuing to do minor updates on the 4-week timetable, and I don't know what those updates are for 2026 yet. We haven't planned them, so you know, if you are making requests now, they could turn up early next year potentially if they get accepted. So it's just the stuff where that's the position we're at. We are planning a bit ahead. I did enjoy making the roadmap announcement. Do we always do a roadmap? I mean, we don't really normally do them, do we? But we did do at the end of last year, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do know what the next few updates are, but I won't announce them now. I'll just let them come out through the next few months. But we do have some cool stuff happening, and they're just minor updates. It'll be like one new feature and a bunch of bug fixes basically. But some of them are more exciting than others. But I think we've got some good ones for the rest of the year. We're definitely looking for cool stuff that we can carry on developing and add for 2026. Next question: will hydrogen find new applications such as power generation via fuel cells? It's a nice request. The old fuel cell stuff. I mean, I'll discuss it with players. Hydrogen fuel cells. I mean, I think it just comes down to a matter of judgment on this as to, is hydrogen fuel cells getting niche, or should it be a core part of a search and rescue game? And obviously we've always been very flexible with what's a core part of search and rescue game, like when we added trains and stuff like that. Like, it's not necessarily search and rescue game stuff. We've obviously added space and weapons and so on. Is hydrogen fuel cells make sense as part of any of that? If so, we might want to add that as a new power source. Sounds cool. It's also the kind of thing I think players could very easily do with the modding API as well. You can handle fuel, you can handle gases and liquids, and you can consume and generate electric within a modded component as well. So that would actually be pretty easy to make as a player mod, but we could also make it. I don't think players have made it yet, so there's no harm in us making it as well. I'll discuss that with the players, with the developers. Sorry, I don't know is the answer. I think we'll have to just make that judgment. Is it something that the game needs? Yes or no? Right, next question. Will we ever be getting a round variant of the Lure microcontroller for use in missiles? Oh, I wish we were. The microcontroller, I mean anything's possible, right? But probably not is the answer. Yeah, just having a little think. I mean, we do have the one wide missile example vehicle. I think I made it. Is it IR or is it it's radar guided missile? Is it? And we've got the one wide missile one. Players do love designing and building missiles for their vehicles. Like the modular parts of vehicles are quite fun though. You can do the hard point attachment and stuff. I like the vision of the game of working that way. But the microcontroller editor is kind of what it is. Like, it's not particularly useful to have smaller microcontrollers because you need enough room to get all your nodes on anyway. So like your small round microcontroller, it's going to have a limited amount of nodes you can kind of attach onto, so how useful is that going to be anyway? And then I know that you can make your radar missile and stuff just using the parts with no microcontroller as well. So sorry, I just had a sip of tea. I don't know. Probably not getting a round variant of the lower microcontroller. I'll discuss it though. I will discuss it with the developers because I think it's probably worth asking the question. Round microcontrollers. Sorry, I'll just put this phone on silent. It's just junk message anyway, but it's just going ding for you all, isn't it? Right, there we go. Round microcontroller. Right, Mark answered. Next question. Self-hosting is broken. All other servers are paid by a Hertzner. Any plans to fix this? I'm just going to go ahead and say doubt. I don't think self-hosting is broken at all. I think that's very unlikely. I do appreciate that some players may be having issues hosting servers, but I think it probably comes back to all that router stuff I was talking about before, i.e. own infrastructure issues with their servers. I mean, I know that like there's loads of servers, and I don't think they're all paid by Hertzner. So I think that's just not true. I'm sorry. I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time about stuff, and I'm happy to correct it if I'm shown to be wrong. But I have seen this player request come up a few times about players struggling to host their server. And yeah, I'm sorry, but I mean, I know that the software works. I'm fairly sure I know the software works. I can see that there's lots of dedicated servers being hosted without issue, and I think it's very likely that players are having issues with their own networking infrastructure, their own router or whatever, or their ISP, and it's just out of my control. Next question. Incendiary weapons were suggested and accepted in a past stream. Is there any update on that? Yeah, I think I did say that I liked it, didn't I? Let me have a quick look at the board and I'll see if I can get any more info on that, because I definitely remember saying something like that, and I'm pretty sure I went and discussed it with the developers, and I'm pretty sure we created like a tag to do work on it, so I'll just see if it's here. Yeah, okay, I've got a card saying incendiary warheads. Were they warheads? I think they probably were, weren't they? And I've written incendiary warheads, same set of warheads, explosion raycast creates fire. Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple, isn't it? It's just similar to the existing stuff. I'll just bring this up again, and because it's not been approved, and usually we have discussion as a team, and I think a developer may have explained to me why it was a bad idea. I've got a sneaking suspicion, but it wasn't noted on the card what was said, so I think it's probably worth me bringing that one up again and see if a developer again explains that, if that is a problem or not. Because to me it seems fine, right? It seems like it's going to be reasonably straightforward to add the components, and then we can get the incendiary mechanic working, which it should already be written because it's done for all the projectiles and stuff. So hopefully we can get something for you on that. Thank you for reminding me. Next question, when do you plan to add more rail-based components, e.g. electrifying mainlands? If not, why? So I think we've got the overhead rail request that's come up a few times. I don't think that's necessarily what's being asked for here. Electrifying mainlands, that might be a third rail situation, I'm not sure. But I know with the overhead rails, I'm a bit nervous to do that just because the physics situation. Usually having like slender physics or posts or stuff that reaches above vehicles, that tends to have more of an impact. Like when you might notice a performance decrease when you take your train through a tunnel, for example. Being surrounded by physics is more complex to resolve. So certainly having overhead cables and gantries and stuff around, I think, is possibly a bad idea for performance reasons. The third rail stuff, I could see why players might say, hey, I should be able to have a third rail here. In which case, you know, what would you want us to do? Would you want us to just add an electric node on the train wheel, and then you can pull electric via that? And would you only want it on the modern train wheels? I will raise it as a question. If you want to give us a bit more detail, if it's important to you, you're very free to open a support ticket, and otherwise I'll just discuss rail-based power on the basis of it being like a third rail kind of situation. We could just add an electric node that provides power, so you could just provide power to the rest of your train via the electric node. Third rail electric node. Note made, thank you very much. Next question, are there any plans to add new features to component mod and component lure? I think I've already answered this. We'll watch the support tracker. If players ask for stuff, we will consider it. And yeah, we're very open-minded on this stuff. We've definitely got the time to do it. We've got the energy to do it. I think it's just we're waiting really for modders to make specific requests, preferably modders who've already got mods published, just so we can see that they're able to make a mod and not just asking for stuff that they're not actually going to use. But yeah, if there's players that have component mod published and are talking to us on support tracker, then we'd be very happy to engage them. And I can't promise we're just going to say yes to everything, but I think where we can do something and we understand what the modder's trying to achieve and it makes sense, then yeah, I think we'll be happy to expand the component mod and component lure. That sounds cool. Thank you very much. Shall I press refresh again? It's now 5:30. Let's shuffle. I'll click it once, twice, and thrice. Okay, we're back on. Right. Right. There's only a few on this page. I'll scroll down to the first one. The question is, will there be an update to the game's physics? So generally the answer is no. I think I kind of covered this in terms of the multi-threading. The game does use bullet physics. I know I've seen a few people complaining about how bullet physics is so dated and whatever. The reality is that bullet physics is very good. It was definitely the right choice 8 years ago. I've used a lot of physics libraries now. We used NVIDIA physics for Carrier Command 2. Not going back to that one. I think Carrier Command 2, the physics might have been better with bullet, to be honest. And on the new game we use Jolt physics, which is a pretty new library. It does have multi-threading in terms of like multi-threaded physics processing, which is cool, and it does generally seem to be a bit faster than bullet, but not everything's perfect about it, and actually the situations where it's like, oh, this feature in bullet is actually the physics resolution of this particular feature is a bit more stable, and so we're definitely benefiting still from a lot of the bullet stuff. I will also note that we're not using bullet out of the box. We have actually modded the physics library quite a few times now. It's kind of moderately modded, I would say. It's not just the version that you can download off the Git repo. So if that's the player's question, though, they're asking about the game's physics. Does this mean water physics, aerodynamics? I don't know. I've just answered one possible question there. I hope that was the question that was being asked. Next question: are there any plans to improve multiplayer mod downloading, like how Gmod does it? Maybe. You know, I don't play Gmod. I'm sorry, I don't actually know how Gmod does it. I do think that our mod downloading, I mean, I imagine Gmod is just Half-Life 2 engine, right? So it's just you connect to the server, it downloads the mods, which is what we do. So I can't fully respond to that. I do know that the way well, developers just messaged me to say he means caching. Okay, so if you mean caching, there is a card on the board about caching. We've not moved it up. If you just want to like not have to download the same stuff again, because you've already connected to that server, then it would connect faster the second time. It's not the worst idea. We could do it. I think as the game works, it does work without the caching at the moment. But if you are playing on a server with loads of mods, I appreciate it can take a while to connect, can't it? I know I've been playing my Arma 3, and honestly it can take like 45 minutes to connect to an Arma 3 server with the mods you got to download. I mean, that works in a different way because you are downloading all the mods from a central repo rather than off the server, which has its advantages and disadvantages. I quite like how we're doing it, but caching is a potential improvement there. I'll note it down. I think it's worth bringing up with the development team. I just don't want to introduce any bugs. I think it could be just a little bit of a tricky one to implement, but I'll discuss it with the development team. We're not currently planning on changing that stuff, but I'll discuss it with the team. Next question: currently component mod bins are not uploaded with a workshop vehicle. Is this intentional? So I am sorry to this user, but I just can't answer your question because I just don't have the technical knowledge to answer this off the top of my head. I didn't actually develop the component modding personally. It was some of the guys on the team did it, and I mean, I did help with the documentation, but the bins, I know what you mean by bins because it's going to be a .bin file, isn't it? I'm not really sure what the context is here. I'm not really sure what the bin files are, what's in them, and how they're generated and so on. So I'm sorry, I can't ask you a question. If you want to ask on the support tracker, then we can try and get an answer to you at some point. But yeah, sorry, I just don't know. Next question: what do you think of people that create renders or 3D prints using Stormworks vehicles? Well, I think these people are fantastic. I really enjoy the fan art channel, and the renders are mental, right? Like you've got all these characters going on. There's I mean, there's a few of them, isn't there? There's I'm not sure. I think it's a few players are doing like similar themed stuff. I'm not sure if there's like an overarching story, but there's the ones where, you know, all the characters are like they're posed up with the vehicles, and they're all kitted up with guns and stuff, but they've all got like sassy poses kind of things going on. They are nuts. It's so good. You know, it's also nice because in some ways the players are like doing more with the artwork than we are. You know, it's I mean, the renders are great, but also the animations and the posing, it really brings the characters to life. So that's cool. The 3D prints I've not seen, I would say, enough of on the vehicle showcase and fan art. I think you could probably put 3D prints in either of those, couldn't you? And I don't think I feel like I've seen enough. I have seen some 3D prints, And I mean, you know, they're always cool. It's really nice to see you know, players printing out their own stuff. But I don't think I think that's less common. I think the renders are, there's quite a few of the renders though. They're really cool. To be honest, I like all of that stuff. I think there's a lot of players who take the game and then take it further, right? They've got the game, they're playing the game, they're creating vehicles in the game, but then they don't stop there. They then open up video editor and start making like a little storyline with music and an edited video, and they make a trailer for their vehicle, and that might go on the workshop, or they might just stick it on the vehicle showcase channel or share it on Reddit or whatever. You know, I think that stuff's really cool, where players take playing the game and then take it further and take it into a new kind of creative medium. So yeah, I do enjoy it. I get a lot of personal gratification from that stuff as well. It's kind of nice to be involved in some kind of abstract, different way. It's nice to been part of making the tools that players are using for that stuff. Will there ever be more wedge pieces and windows? Yeah, I think I've already answered this. I just think there's enough, and we make it so easy to mod them now that I don't think it makes the game better. I think we've provided a pretty good set. We appreciate that there's plenty of context where you would need a different wedge or a different window for your specific creation, but I don't think it's right for us to be making like every possible contextual piece and putting it in the game, and there's kind of unlimited of these that we could add, and it'd just be impossible to find the one you want if we just start doing this. So no, but it's highly moddable. It's a cosmetic part, it doesn't have to do anything. It is easy to do, although I appreciate that not all players want to be messing around with making mods and stuff, and I respect that, but I don't think we should put them in the base game. Will we get expanded paintable indicators? For example, pies with multiple lightable colours. I'm just trying to understand this one. So I think, is this like, because I know we've got the paintable indicator, which is like the paintable sign, and it's got the backlighting, hasn't it? And we're saying, oh, can we have it where we can light up different parts with different colours and stuff? I'm just thinking about how that would be implemented, right? Because I'm not opposed to it. I'm just thinking, you know, it's a one block piece. It's only got like one node on it, or 2 nodes as the case may be for this one. I'm not sure. And one of the developers is just advising me pies are small circle indicators on instrument panels. Right, I got it. Okay. And I suppose what you want to be able to just like light up different parts of the paintable indicator, I expect, with like by signaling different channels. I mean, we could potentially make a composite one here. I think it's just, you know, how do we program which pixels get lit up by which signal on a composite one, and does it become too complicated to use? So for me, this is a design problem. Like, I'm not opposed to the idea of having that. I think it's just that it's a little bit complicated for players to do, because are we just going to make it components? It's just too hard to know. You know, you're going to start to need a degree in order to be able to use the component, because you need to go through all the documentation and read like which channels, and then you need to experiment with it for ages in order to get what you want. Is it just going to be too difficult to use? I think it's just a usability issue. I'll discuss it with the development team. I do suspect that we're just going to resolve that it's niche in a way that to resolve it, it would involve like making quite a specific contextual solution, which is again what I've discussed as being not something we really want to do. We kind of want to make these generic components, and that's the nature of Stormworks, so having these generic blocks that then you assemble to make specific stuff. But I'll write this down as multiple channel paintable indicator. Multi-channel indicator. Cool, thank you. And Next question, is there going to be some decorations, blocks and camo nets for vehicles and more ammo types? So the camo nets are cool, right? Like you can see how it's just the sails or the fishing nets, and you can just build them just with just a different texture, I suppose. I mean, you know, that's cool. I quite like that idea because I'm thinking, well, different ways we could do this. Is it too contextual again? I don't know. Depends what players think. Kind of see this one. More decoration blocks. I mean, I don't know. You've not really said what decoration blocks, so I mean, there could be the cosmetic blocks. Again, I know we've added some, but we don't want to add stuff that's too specific. Reasons I've already explained. More ammo types. I mean, we've already discussed the timed and proximity ammos, and we discussed the incendiary warheads as stuff. I'm going to discuss the developers. I don't think generic decoration blocks is a priority for us, but if there's specific stuff that is generic enough that it would make sense to be part of a base set of components, then that's something we could be considering. And I'll just write down camo nets, because we could just make the camo net anchor, couldn't we? And it's just like fishing nets, except it doesn't catch fish and it has a different texture. Possibly be simple to do, but again, is that too niche? Is that too contextual? I don't know. I will ask the rest of the development team and we'll just kind of discuss it. What about multiplayer world chunks not loading for clients in a server? If there are bugs here, then we need to look at it. If your world chunks are not loading, I'm just considering what the possible causes for that would be. It could be that you're out of disk space, or you've got some kind of configuration where your user does not necessarily have permissions for writing files. I'm just suggesting that. I'm just thinking off the top of my head what could possibly cause that symptom. I would recommend creating a support ticket with reproduction steps. And we'll see if we can reproduce it. But it's kind of hard to know. I mean, could it be that the player's got mods installed? Could it be that there's something else going on that's weird? Because this doesn't normally happen, right? Like, I'm playing multiplayer in this game here, and in the video I just played 2 days ago, and we didn't have world chunks not loading. So it's hard for me to imagine what the problem there could be. So I think you'd have to open a support ticket and give us some more information. Next question, when will we hear more about Not Stormworks 2? In the next 6 months. Answered already, thank you. Are the developers going to do something with Stormworks Vehicle Stealer? Like delete it? Right, so this Stormworks Vehicle Stealer, is this a person or is this like a specific piece of software? I think it might be software, right? Where people are using modded software in order to steal vehicles in multiplayer. This issue has always been of interest to me. Like, I've never quite understood it. I understand that players feel ownership and authorship over their creations, and it makes sense. But at the same time, you know, I guess the players haven't uploaded to a workshop, so they don't really feel... Yeah, okay, one developer just messaged me to explain. There's an app that can save dedicated or multiplayer world. Yeah, okay, so they've got a hacked version of the game, isn't it? That's I mean, I would say don't do this if you're a player, because you know you can get Steam banned for this. And I suppose if we start detecting it and we're able to verify that that's specifically what's going on, I mean, we don't want to be banning people unless they are misbehaving. But if we do start to detect this, or we have been detecting it already, then I think we're within our rights to ban, because you are using a modded version of the game, so you're breaking the Steam subscriber agreement, and yeah, we're entitled to ban. I think obviously we're only going to ban people, I think, where we feel like they're causing other players a problem or they're pirating the game. And I think in this case, if you are ruining other players' experience with this kind of behaviour, then that is possibly something we should be taking action on. I mean, I'm just thinking on the top of my head here. Obviously, we can't delete Stormworks Vehicle Stealer because we don't make it, right? We're not the people who make. I mean, the only people who can delete it is the people who got it. We don't have the Stormworks Vehicle Stealer. It is annoying. It is antisocial, and you know it's a bit sad. But what can we do about it? Other than you know, develop our anti-cheat further to try and detect it. Which we might be able to do. I'll discuss if we can do anything about it, but I mean, ultimately, you know, it is a little bit tricky. Stormworks Vehicle Stealer. Yeah, I'll discuss it with the development team. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's a bit victim blaming, isn't it? But all I can say is to players, if you are super concerned about this, don't spawn your stuff in multiplayer, because apparently there's these people going around who will steal your vehicles, which is a bit annoying. Obviously, if you're just putting stuff up on the workshop anyway, then it's not such a concern. But obviously, I'd be upset if I made something really cool and I hadn't uploaded it to the workshop yet, and then someone uploads it on my behalf and claims they made it. I mean, yeah, you'd be upset, wouldn't you? But it's just very difficult to do, and ultimately, except for a bit of emotional distress, there's no harm done, really. It's a bit difficult to know in terms of what recourse, and it's just difficult for us to police, especially, you know, we're not running the servers. Like, you've got other people running the servers, but obviously it's very difficult for them to moderate this because they don't necessarily know who's a vehicle stealer and who isn't. So I suppose we are in the best place to be able to detect it, aren't we? We're the best place to be able to deal with it. I'll discuss it with the developers. We'll see if that is something we can try and tackle. Obviously, we did deliver the anti-cheat for solving this kind of problem, so we'll talk about it. I can't make any promises or a timeline. But yeah, I'm sorry if you had to put up with these idiots, you know, because it's antisocial thing to do, isn't it? People online, I guess. Right. Next question: is hunting going to be added, like selling the animals for money? I'll start answering the questions a little bit faster. Developers pointed out the time to me. I will try and get through the remaining questions as quick as possible, and so I'll just kind of quick fire some questions for a little bit. Is hunting going to be added, like selling animals for money? Probably not, but we could do. I'll write down one word: hunting. I'll discuss it with developers. Next question: can you add microcontrollers with layered connections, data and composite node on the same position? I suppose we could do. I'll discuss that as well. I mean, the problem is we're going to have to do some work on the UI, right? So some poor developer's going to have to figure out how you program it in so that certain nodes can overlap. But I don't think it's a bad idea. Next question: would it be possible to increase the refresh rate of the radar and logic systems beyond 60 Hz? The question is no. The game runs at 60, the physics runs at 60, the logic runs at 60, everything runs at 60. If the radar ran higher than that, well, it's not going to make a difference because you know, none of the objects will have moved because the physics runs at 60. Next question: why in QA last year you said there won't be flexible belt, but in sudden it just came out. But it's a good question, isn't it? What I probably did say it wasn't going to happen, and then we just did it. You know, you guys say this stuff. I might say no at the time. I might say no 3 or 4 more times, and then it does percolate. And in my head, I've at some point resolved the problem. I thought, okay, actually, I've broken it down enough. The players have asked me so many times. I do want to say yes to players, and I do enjoy developing stuff that the players want. And in this case, I've just thought about it a bit more. I figured this is a way we could deliver it. It doesn't necessarily have to be technically complicated or a problem. And I've kind of solved the problem in my head, and then I've discussed it with the development team, and someone's gone ahead and implemented it with that design. And yeah, so I change my mind sometimes. I do make mistakes all the time. I get things wrong. I change my mind, and in sometimes I do say we're not going to do something, and then I go ahead and add it to the game anyway. And that's always been the case with Stormworks. It's not the first time I've done that. It'll happen again. Next question: can we please have more scenery or lively things in the world where it does not look so empty? I don't know is the answer. I think I kind of already answered this. I don't want to add stuff to the game that's not mechanical. You know, it wants to be part of the game. Everything in Stormworks is about what you can build, what you can do, not so much what stuff looks like. I do appreciate that the game can feel a little bit of like an empty world and stuff. It's also a question of more question as well, because obviously we have added some stuff. We have got AI vehicles and stuff, scenery vehicles and so on, and I think it's the case of users think, yeah, but can we have more? And I think at what point is enough? Does it need to turn into GTA 5 kind of thing? Because you know we're never going to get to that point, so it's a little bit difficult. Next question by White Noise: Space DLC capped pumping water from sea to 10 liters per second. It makes stuff hard. Can it get improved? 10 liters per second is 60 liters per minute, which sounds way too low. I'm pretty sure you used to be able to achieve 2,500 liters per minute. I'll discuss that with developers. White Noise. 10 liters per second sounds very slow, because I'm pretty sure we used to be able to do like 2,500-3,000 a minute. 60 a minute is very low. Okay, I'll discuss it with the devs. 10 liters per second pump limit. Next question: are there plans for more voxel optimizations? And they've even linked the YouTube. We're doing the quick fire now. So sorry, I can't watch your video. So I don't really know. I can't really start doing like long form questions. May we get armor such as ERA? This is the reactive armor stuff, isn't it? The stuff that blows up or whatever, or actual better smoke. I mean, the armor idea is nice. I'll write it down, because you know we do have code there for the ballistics, but could we enhance it further so it works better? I know a lot of players done a lot of experimentation here and examined the behavior. I've seen lots of videos of players trying to figure it out. Maybe we could make a bit more sense. Actual / better smoke. I'll write that down. Smoke. I guess smoke launchers are we talking about? For like countermeasures and stuff. Sounds cool. I'll raise it. We are looking for stuff to do in 2026, so these are good suggestions. I'm not making any promises, but we'll discuss it with all this other stuff and pick up the stuff that we like the most. When can we expect a major weapon update? Kalman filters. I don't know what a Kalman filter is. I'll look that up after the stream. More fragments, radio landmines, and more. We'll discuss this stuff too. I'm sure the development team will be very happy to discuss this. I'll just write down major weapon update, and I'll have to make a note of the Kalman filter, fragments, radio landmines. Cool. We will see sonar, field of view, and gas turbines that run on diesel. Right, that's interesting. Sonar FOV. I mean, I'll just write this stuff down. Sonar FOV. Gas turbines that run on diesel, probably not. I don't really want to start like making new engines that are doing something that's logically different but fundamentally the same. Like, it kind of doesn't really make sense from a gameplay point of view. It's just kind of cosmetically different but mechanically the same. So from a game design point of view, I don't think it really makes the game better to have turbine engines that run on diesel, for example. Next question, Wiki. How lifts calculated, flotation, F1 key menu, wall, better career mode performance? So are these things that the player wants on the Wiki? More documentation might not be a bad thing, but yeah. So we can't just easily explain any of this stuff, right? Like, Stormworks is a ridiculous amount of code. Lift calculation is going to be a few hundred lines of code. You know, it's not an equation. The flotation is, again, 1,000 lines. I mean, the flotation's a massive file of code. It's got thousands of lines in it. The F1 key menu, you know what you mean. You've got all the profiler sections, haven't you? You want to know what the colours mean and what the actual things mean and so on. It's difficult to read the F1 menu. I think I've argued with the development team several times on this. I'm like, oh, we should take it out because players can't read it because it's really complicated. And then I point out that some of the developers probably don't know what specifically these bits mean. You kind of got to go and look at the code to understand what that stuff means. These profiler sections are also complicated. They're for our reference more than anything. They're useful for diagnostics, but for player facing, it's not going to mean anything. And it's not until you go and read the code that you fully understand what those different sections mean. Better career mode performance, I think we've already covered that. And that is like 4 questions. You're meant to get 1 each. Next question, will we get smaller train wheels? These would be really useful for high rail vehicles and trams. I've been watching the stuff on YouTube where the guy's putting them on his car, and I think it's something that people do where they have they mod their car with train tracks and they go explore like these American abandoned railways. It's pretty cool. I've seen some players make those now, and it's possible with the detachable train node, wheels node as well, isn't it, that we added recently. Small train wheels, yeah, we could potentially think. I don't know what the smallest is, but I'll ask the developers if they think we should add smaller train wheels, and I will write that down now as well. Because I think it would be pretty easy for us to do, wouldn't it? It's just a regular train wheel, just new artwork, different size, and I can appreciate the high rail vehicle stuff. That would be useful. Next question, could you please add time overriding control to the add-on scripts via server set game setting? T-Rex5522, please could you make a support ticket for us, and if the developer agrees that we can add a time overriding control, that we could do it. I think we'd be happy to add that stuff as a modding API. I think it's just the question of, is it going to work or not? Can we do that from a technical point of view? But if that just works and it works smoothly, I think we're happy to do it. So yeah, please create a support ticket and just explain what the function's called, what you want the parameters to be, and what you want it to do, and we'll have a look. Next question: are there plans for straighter, high speed like train track routes? Yeah, I know what you mean. Like our train lines are good and all, but they're probably like they're too tightly angled to be realistic for a lot of train lines. I mean, I'm sure there are train lines with that kind of radius, but I think it's usually a train line would have a much softer radius, wouldn't it? We don't have plans for straighter high speeds like train track routes. I mean, there's plenty of players who have made high speed trains and they do work, although you pull some serious G's going around the corners. We've seen the Komodo videos and the spy cakes, and they're on some train track, and it's got like 40 jet engines on the top of some train wheels, and it just like it blinks them to the Arctic in very, very quickly. So obviously, you know, yeah, it does do it, but I appreciate that this player is asking for more realistic train line setting. I think, you know, the answer is no. I think it's probably a bit too subtle a change for us to be making and still be able to justify it as an improvement to the game that's, you know, productive, constructive change to make. I think it's a bit difficult for us to justify it. It's like a whole new landscape rework, isn't it? Are you going to add in Steam Cloud saves? So we got it turned off, and that we used to have it turned on, but the reason we turned it off, and we turned it off like years ago, like 6, 7, 8 years ago. We like pretty much as soon as we launched, we turned it off. And the issue is that the game saves can get pretty big, the vehicle files can get pretty big, and you just end up in the situation where the Steam Cloud wants to sync when you're starting the game, when you're closing the game, and it can be really annoying because you end up with a massive sync to do, and you basically just get stuck waiting to sync for ages. So we decided to turn it off. And this is just my general feeling, is that it's not helpful to players generally. It's just going to cause more issues than it solves. I do appreciate the value in the cloud, so you can stand up on one machine, go somewhere else, sit down, you've got all your vehicles there, they're also backed up and so on. So I appreciate the value of the experience there. I just don't think Steam Cloud is going to give you a good experience, because I think you're just going to end up finding yourself where you can't play because Steam is stuck syncing some massive files, and players with lower bandwidth as well are just going to have an awful time. So I don't think we should add Steam Cloud savings, and that's why it's turned off. It's literally like a checkbox to turn it on. Like, it's not difficult. I think it wasn't giving a good experience, so we had to turn it off because it was causing players lots of problems. Will we ever get a function in Lua that allows us to read the pixel color? So the answer to this, actually, I can give a firm no on this. The reason is we just don't know what the pixel color is. It's only in the rendered assets. They only exist on the GPU. The CPU knows about the physics, but it doesn't know what colors the physics surfaces are. Yeah, we can't do that, and we can't render it and read it back because that's just not how GPUs work either. So no is the answer. What are your plans for the game? Any future major updates, or do you plan to deprecate the game? I do not plan on deprecating the game. I think we're going to carry on. At the moment, we're doing minor updates every 4 weeks. I don't see why we can't just continue that. We do want to carry on doing major updates. I think it's just making sure it's the right major update. Specifically, we don't have a specific major update that we've got planned at the moment. Currently, we're just working on some minor updates, but we do plan generally on doing major updates in the future, and we don't plan on deprecating the game at all. I think there's a lot of players still playing. In fact, just as many as always. It's the numbers are extremely stable on the game, and they just have been for years now. I think, if you look at the graphs, there's a little bit of up and down, but if you compare us to like our highest point, we're actually not that far off there, and we're just as high as we were for the first few years of the game. And it's not really going down. Like, I think if players are playing, then I think it's our duty to support the product, is my point of view there. And we do enjoy it. We really enjoy seeing what the community are doing. It is fun developing a live service game. We are putting time into our new game as well, and we're trying to get it out, so it's just taking more and more time. But I don't really want that to affect what's happening with Stormworks. I want us to carry on giving our players the best quality of service and support that we reasonably can with the size of team that we have. Next question, any plan on updating tank tracks and weapons DLC? So we did the tank tracks recently, didn't we? We did the 2 wide stuff. I don't think we got more plans on the tank tracks. The weapons DLC, I mean, we discussed the ammo types and stuff before, but no, we don't have specific changes. But, you know, I've been writing a load of stuff down. What else did I write down? I wrote down the armor, the smoke launchers. Someone asked for some specific major weapon update stuff. I've already forgotten the words. So, you know, I'm happy to take specific requests. If players have a specific idea that they would like to see implemented, then please do let us know on Support Tracker. But we don't have active plans ourselves, but we are looking for stuff for 2026 for updates. Next question, are there any plans to add animations for seats such as steering wheel or handle movement? That stuff's in the new game. I don't think we're going to add it to Stormworks. The animation system's like not quite set up to do that, but we have set up it in the new game. We're trying to do like little quality stuff like that as best we can. I think the basis for the new game is to do less but to a higher quality. You know, I like that. I love that suggestion, and we are trying to do it, but just in the new game. Next question: have you considered adding a version control system for vehicles / controllers, something like a Git? No, I haven't. I mean, you know, it's like it's meant to be a game, and I know you know it's not necessarily always a game, and it's playing Stormworks can be very technical. But Jesus, we're pushing our luck so hard. Adding some kind of version control system, I can understand why players would want that. But I think for the players that do want it, you know, push your files to Git, set yourself up with the GitHub, put your vehicles on there if you wanna track your changes and stuff. I can kind of see how having like a file history would be useful, but I can also see these histories getting massive and you having a single vehicle that's gigabytes. So I think we're probably better letting players save their versions themselves. We are open. I know vehicle folders is stuff that keeps getting asked for, so that is something we will consider looking at. Can't promise that one, but I would like to do it. Next question, could you add larger machine gun ammo boxes? Okay, I'll write this down. Larger machine gun ammo boxes. Made a note to be discussed. Next one, is there going to be an improvement to modular engine cooling, or am I not meant to go full throttle? You're not meant to go full throttle, and I really respect that Grilled Cheeses has recognised that might be the case, because usually players don't want to consider this, that they're not meant to go full throttle. I mean, what happens normally? I suppose you're meant to. Yeah, I mean, and the cooling system is designed so that engines can overheat. They can set on fire and get damaged if you overheat them. I mean, that's always been the case with the modular engine stuff. I think it's always been a bit of a challenge, and I think the engines probably do heat up too easy. I think it was balanced so that, I suppose, to kind of balance the design of the engine against the performance of the engine, so there was kind of like a give and take there, in terms of I'm not going to get this into too much detail, because I'm meant to be doing the quick fire answers, aren't I? But yeah, we should I guess if you are 100%ing the throttle, that is going to increase the energy. Some of the cooling setups can cool the engines down faster than others. I mean, I think if I had my modular engine time again, I think I would do things differently. I think I would work the cooling to be different. Rebalancing it now is not going to be helpful. I think I'm just going to break stuff. But the original design was that, yeah, you're not, if you go full throttle, you can only do for a short period of time, because otherwise the heat builds up and you risk overheating. And then otherwise there would be some maximum sustained level of fuel burning that you can achieve with your cooling setup, and that was the basis of it. It works to some degree in that sense, but yeah, it's please don't 100% throttle all of your modular engines, because yes, they will set on fire. So I think really the design is meant to be that you're building your modular engine, you're setting up your cooling, and then you're finding out, okay, what is the highest sustainable output that this engine can achieve with this cooling system. But also, you know, hands up, sometimes it doesn't make sense. It's a bit of a black box. It can be difficult to diagnose what your coolant like choke points are, I suppose. Yeah, no, it's something I've put a lot of thought into. Yeah, I think certainly on our versions of the modular engines where we've done tests, we've not been 100%ing the throttle. We've been, you know, you can go up to 100% for a short period of time, but just don't hold it there for too long or you're going to overheat. Maybe have like a thermal cutoff, that kind of stuff that can regulate the temperature. Next question, thoughts to add new shipwrecks to explore? I mean, I love the shipwreck stuff. I really enjoy like seeing videos of the existing shipwrecks on YouTube and stuff, or stuff people put on Discord. Shipwreck locations. I think, like, ultimately it would be cool if we could make the gameplay more, you know, we could get more mileage out of our existing shipwrecks in terms of gameplay, because the shipwrecks we have done are already pretty cool. But I think it would just be better if there was more to do there. And 454 does suggest here interactive / have cargo missions, treasure cargo, shipwreck locations and treasure. I'll discuss it with the team. We'll see what we come up with, but yeah, I mean the treasure stuff would be good. The add-on content does take a bit of time, so sometimes that can be a bit of a put-off for us. But we'll discuss what we can do. It can just be some of the more kind of labor-intensive stuff to add, and it's because it's like one-off content. It can be a little bit prone to, it's just harder to find the bugs in that kind of stuff where it's code that's getting executed less frequently, and it's also very much data based. But yeah, this is all production stuff. I'll discuss it with the team. I think fundamentally that sounds like some nice mission ideas. Can you give us some more information about the development of Stormworks 2? There's no development of Stormworks 2. It's not Stormworks 2, isn't it? And we'll give it a proper name soon, just to kind of like emphasize that it's not part of the Stormworks franchise. And we'll let you guys know more info in the next 6 months. Next question, will you add medium motor cannons or tank tracks that work with suspension? Yeah, we did look at tank tracks with suspension, and we eventually just kind of decided against it. I think we did. It was just causing too many issues. I think it was with the tank track rendering. It was just a bit difficult to get it working in a way that was reliable. And you know, it is a bit of a resource thing. There was just other stuff that was just not causing us problems that just got moved forward instead of. I like the plan. I like the idea. The tank tracks with suspension, though, I think we did try recently, and it was just not really working very well. And we decided that we'd do something else instead, because we were having quality issues with getting that working. With just modifying the existing tracks, you know, they were never set up to be with suspension. Next question, are you going to add more ways to make electric in space, such as fuel cell or radioscope generators. So we've also already discussed the hydrogen fuel cell, radioisotope generator. It's basically a battery, isn't it? It's just the it's just like with a longer life on it. So I think probably not radioisotope generator, because I think that kind of breaks the game, because you end up just with like a battery with an unlimited storage, effectively. So it just, why would you use a battery when you've got a radioisotope generator? The fuel cells, however, we're saying that requires some hydrogen or something, are we? So that's potentially going to like require gases and stuff, so that might make more sense. And yeah, making electricity in space sounds cool. I know they're going to do, they're talking about doing nuclear generators on the moon, are they? So nuclear reactors on the moon, so you could do that. That is an option, but yeah, we'll discuss the fuel cell stuff. Next question: will there be expansion for weapons DLC, infrared system, armor? I don't have plans for the infrared system. I think that was quite a big rendering job for one component. Would be cool though, wouldn't it? But we don't have plans for it right now. The armor stuff, I already said I would discuss revisiting that and just seeing if the ballistics is something we can improve upon. Next question: sonar read work, sonar noise ranges, being able to classify noise sources. I am only going to do a few more questions here, so please don't be asking more questions if you're joining at this point, because I'm probably not going to get to it. I'll try and finish this page. It says page 4 for me. Sonar rework, sonar noise ranges, being able to classify noise sources, etc. I think if you would like to create a feature request on the support tracker with a bit more info on exactly what you're expecting there, then I think that's something we could discuss. I think it's kind of open to interpretation as it stands, and that could kind of mean a lot of different things. If we could get you pinned down a little bit more in detail, and then it'll be a bit easier to decide if that makes sense or not. Being able to classify noise sources, I get this. I've played the submarine. I forgot what it's called. Like it's the Cold Waters, is it? It's a really cool game. And yeah, having like different signals. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I'll note that down. Sonar noise ranges. I guess we're talking about having an extra channel with of information there to say, what the pitch or some kind of number which is describing the sound, I suppose. Some extra information that describes the sound that is interactive with the Stormworks data system. Will you be adding sound to train wheels? I mean, we've got the brake sound, haven't we, with the lockups, the sparks. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Train wheel sound. I'll note it down because it's kind of odd that there isn't already sound on there, I suppose, for them rolling. But it's kind of difficult to put a sound on there because, I mean, I think you want the sound to be quite smooth, and I think finding sounds for that is going to be very difficult. It's the kind of like metal gliding on metal sound that is you want it to be quite smooth. You don't want it to be too crunchy, and I think we'll struggle to find a sound effect there. But I have written it down. I'll discuss it with the team. It's a good suggestion. I like it. I just don't know whether that'll happen. Are there any plans for updating, expanding the space DLC? I think we kind of already discussed that in the previous questions. There's issues that specifically mentions ores. Are there not ores already on the moon? Ores in space. I'm really pleased I've done this because actually it's a really good point for us to be talking about what we're doing in 2026, and I think there's a lot of good suggestions here. So Thank you to everyone who is submitting these questions. It is actually quite useful. When will be the next major update or DLC happening? I don't know, Alex. I'm sorry. I can't say. There will be major updates. I don't know whether there'll be DLC now. I think for us to do a DLC, I think our interest is the exact same as the player interest. You know, we would like to do a DLC if it's really high value to the players and it's giving content that's worth paying for to the player. Then I think that's what the player wants, right? They want a great update with content that's worth paying for. I think a lot of players are just happy to pay it if they're getting, you know, their money's worth. I think it's just that, you know, we did the weapons DLC, we did the space DLC, we did the arrow DLC, and I think they were updates I was very proud of, and I think the team are very proud of, but I don't know what else we would do next that would kind of match them in terms of like a big update. You know, I think we've got lots of small bits that would be really great to add, but a major expansion in that sense, I don't know what kind of single like theme there would be that you would build a DLC around that would make sense there. So we're not planning on DLCs right now, but that's not to say the game's not going to change. We're carrying on adding stuff. We've got plenty of very meaningful minor updates coming, and we're going to carry on with those. The major updates, we don't know what we're doing yet, but I will hope that there will be more major updates coming. I don't have a specific major update that we're planning at the moment. Next question, are there plans for adding tank suspension? We've just answered that. Saving in vehicles is impossible. We get teleported away when loading back. Any fix? Question mark. I think it's where you're traveling quickly, isn't it? Possibly in multiplayer, because you said we are getting teleported away when loading back. So probably saving in multiplayer. And I suspect your vehicle's moving quickly. Are you in a chair? I mean, I'll note that down. I mean, it's the kind of thing you just expect to work, really, wouldn't you? And the fact that it doesn't work. I mean, obviously saving generally works, but there are some circumstances apparently where it starts to break down, probably when you're traveling at 500 meters per second. Yeah, saving and moving vehicles. I'll note that down and I'll ask the development team, because I mean, it seems on the face of it like it should work, but I know that there is a problem in loading back into a multiplayer game when you're moving quickly, and it's all to do with transferring the peer from server authority to client authority. And there's just a little delay there, and in the few fractions of a second that it takes to transfer, the vehicle that you're on has bloody moved off, hasn't it? So I'll discuss that, because I think that's probably what you're referring to there. So I'll discuss that with the team. Will there ever be an update for Korea? There are multiple things that are wrong with it. Red Robot has commented. I mean, thank you for the comment, but it's kind of hard for me to understand what these multiple things are, and I think you've said, will there be an update for career? But I think there have been. I think we've done a lot of career updates. I don't know when the last one was, but I think if you look over, I'm sure we've been doing career content. Has it been this year or was it last year? I don't know, but we did do a series of mission updates where we added loads of new mission content and different types of mission systems and stuff. So we have been doing that. It's not every update, and I appreciate it's probably not been the last few / several updates, but we have done some, at least last year, maybe this year. I'd have to start looking through the release history to really answer that question. But yes, we do career updates, and I don't know what you mean when you say there's things wrong with it. I'll just do these last 3 questions, try and quick fire them, and then I will let you guys go. Any plans on adding sounds to components that have any yet? Mainly the sliding connector. Yeah, sliding connector. It's a bit like the rail. It's just so difficult to find sounds that make sense for this situation. But we are happy to do more sounds. It's just... yeah, I mean the 650 components, it's just difficult to do sounds for them all. Sounds for sliders. I'll discuss it. I mean, it's something, it's a piece of work we can easily do. It's not technically difficult. It's just that there's quite abundant, the amount of work there. The next question, most sound effects layer variables aren't working, e.g. fade in, fade out. Why is that? I don't know. I thought this stuff was working. I think if you've got a report to make to us, then please let us know what the reproduction steps are for us to reproduce the problem. And if it's not working, this does sound like it's with the recent component modding Lua API. And if that's not working, then yeah, we need to fix it, don't we? But I thought it was working, so please let us know what the reproduction steps are, and we'll get it fixed for you. And just do that via support tracker. Just create a ticket, please. Thank you. Is it possible to prevent Warheads from deleting vehicle bodies possibly via the select mode? I'll ask the development team what we think. I think there's a lot of this stuff. It is the end of Friday. It's very difficult for me to make a decision on any of this stuff on the spot. I want to just answer questions as best I can. I'll say Warheads deleting option, and then I think this is better because I just get the developers' feedback from the whole team, and we can just make more informed and considered decisions as a group. And yeah, I'm sorry I can't just put answers yes or no on all of this stuff. I think the best I can say, or as a general point, is that I've got a list of about 30 things here that we're going to discuss between us as developers. We're going to go through it. I am sure that a lot of this stuff will happen. I think a lot of it, like pretty much all of it, are great ideas, but ultimately we're going to work through a priority basis. We're going to make decisions on what makes sense for Stormworks in terms of the game concept, and we'll plan some updates, and we'll work on hopefully a lot of this stuff. But I appreciate. I know it would have been helpful if I could just say yes, we'll do it, or no, we won't do it. But I think it's probably better for the process if I discuss it with the developers. I imagine we'll hopefully do about a third of this stuff, and so I hope that I can deliver the stuff you're asking for, and hopefully it'll just turn up as an update at some point in the not too distant future. But yeah, I appreciate it's just quite difficult to answer all of these questions on the spot. But thank you very much. I think this is genuinely going to be very useful for our 2026 development plans. So thank you very much for everyone who's turned up and asked questions. It is super useful for us to get player feedback and just get players' point of view. And I do quite enjoy it as well, even though my voice is now hurting. I don't normally talk for this long. But I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much to all of the players who have turned up, and just a general thanks to the development team who are working very hard on the game. They're putting a lot of energy in, so thank you very much to the team. Thank you to everyone in the community, and beyond the people here, as I've already said, I do appreciate the artwork, the videos, the 3D prints where I've seen them, and any of the community stuff. It's always amazing when players take the game and take it further. Players who are building communities, players who are on YouTube, sharing their experiences, sharing their creations, and generally, supporting the game in those ways and supporting the players. It really is appreciated, and you guys are obviously making Stormworks what it is, whether you're making the creations or whether you're within the community helping other players and creating content. So thank you to everyone. Genuinely appreciate it, and take care of yourselves, and I will do one of these again soon.
Alright. Holy, that dragged on. I have been writing down the times the entire time, which is why I have not been active in my comment section. I've been furiously writing down times so I don't have to go through this entire video again to make little labels for it in the description, so you guys can go through and click it and see the specific stuff you want to see. I guess, what did you guys think of that? There was like zero information actually given on anything, really. There's a little bit leaked on Not Stormworks 2. It would have been nice to even just maybe get a name. He said they have a name. There's a little bit of stuff, but not a lot noteworthy or really that matters. Yeah, we also didn't get, I'm pretty sure that it said in here, let's go see their announcement. Pretty sure they said that this is going to announce a, what was it? Let me see. I'm pretty sure they said they were going to announce a major update in this somewhere. I saw people talking about that as well. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I remember seeing something about that, though. Yeah, like in the past ones, we've gotten things like we were told about fishing, we were told about all of this stuff a little bit, we got little leaks and stuff, but now we've just kind of got nothing. I know, Endo. Should I put a little horse in the bottom corner? Will that help you out? It's only 10:30. I should go back to bed. Yeah. Let's see. I've got way too many things about this now. Now to go to ChatGPT, put all of these times in, and tell it to make that copy and pasteable. I am not Deltars Jr. You take that back exit. I will remove you as a mod. There, now I'm Deltars Jr. Let's see. Alright. I am going to go. What do you want, Endo? Personality. One sec. Let me find the horse emoji. Alright. Now I'm going to go